Good morning. I'm Curtis Chandler, president of PFL. Welcome to this week's market webcast for the week ending the 21st day of March 2026. Last week was a wild week, and we see another one in store for this week. Markets pulled back sharply across the board last week. The Dow closed Friday down 444 points and down 981 points week over week. The S&P 500 dropped 1,000 points or 100 points on Friday, closing at 6,506, down 126 points for the week. The Nasdaq led the sell-off, falling 2% on Friday to close at 21,648, down 458 points week over week. In overnight trading, Dow futures traded lower and are expected to open down 321 points from Friday's close. WTI bounced on Friday, gaining $2.18 per barrel, closing at $98.32 per barrel. WTI is poised to open at $99.09 a barrel, up 86 cents per barrel from Friday's close. The EI reported a crude build last week of 6.2 million barrels, still 1% below the 5-year average for this time of year. Gasoline drew down 5.4 million barrels, and distillates drove down 2.5 million barrels, and propane was up 800,000 barrels week over week. Propane remains 57% above the 5-year average for this time of year. North American rig count was down 21 rigs week over week. Canada accounted for 20 of those, while the U.S. edged lower by 1 rig. Year over year, we are down 44 rigs collectively. North American rail volumes were effectively flat in week 12, down less than 1% at 0.67% year over year. 7 of AAR's 11 major traffic categories posted year over year increases. Grain was the week standout, surging 16.9%, while forest products continue to lag and saw the sharpest decline at negative 22.8%. Here are a few things we are keeping an eye on out there for you folks. PFL was on the ground in Houston last week for the SWARS conference, the Southwest Association of Rail Shippers, where nearly 1,000 industry participants gathered to discuss network performance, service, and market dynamics. Great conversations and strong turnout. Give us a call if you'd like to know about what came out of Houston. The Iran conflict continues to reshape global markets in a way that mattered to more North American producers and shippers. Last week, Brent WTI spread blew out to nearly $20 per barrel at its peak, a gap not seen in a decade, as refiners worldwide scrambled for the non-Hamas barrels. North American crude is relatively insulated for now. Canadian heavy, however, has been falling even as WTI surges, a sign that the infrastructure simply isn't there to get those barrels to buyers who need them most. We have more to say in our detailed report. On the LPG side, Targa Resources declared force majeure at its Galena export terminal after mechanical failure and cut output by 30%. See PFL's report for further details. BP locked out 800,000 United Steel members at the Whiting, Indiana refinery on Thursday of last week, which is the largest inland refinery processing 440,000 barrels per day of crude. Illinois retail gasoline is high. The average price is $4.18 per gallon last week and was up 35% month over month. Quite a few roll-down effects if there are any problems at Whiting. See today's report for the full scoop. Ethanol had a strong week last week. Rail delivered ethanol in Chicago hit $1.99 per gallon, up more than 10 cents per gallon week over week. The Renewable Group Association and 7 Midwest governors have joined a petition to the EPA for emergency year-round E15 waiver for summer driving season. With gasoline prices climbing, blending economics improving in real time, this is a constructive setup for tank demand for ethanol throughout the summer. And with Hormuz closed at the worst possible time, urea at the port of New Orleans hit $550 a ton last week, up 30% in less than 2 weeks. Right in the middle of North America's spring planting window, rail is still an essential link between Gulf Coast import terminals and Midwest farmer distribution hubs. The demand is building right now. Well, that's your market update for this week. If you need storage, leasing, subleasing, car cleaning, repair, flaring, scrapping, nitrogen generation, or transloading services, reach out to PFL today. And please share this report with a colleague or a friend if you think that they might find it valuable. Until next week, I'm Curtis Chandler, and thanks for listening, and please read today's report.